Only 5 years ago, I was a window washer, living paycheck to paycheck, had some debts. Honestly, between the house I was living in and my debts, I probably had a negative net worth 5 years ago. Now I'm worth well over $1 million, and that's just counting my assets. That's not even counting the companies that I own and the values that I could get for them. Right? And I'm not saying this to brag or to say, look at me, but I want you guys to understand what I did to be able to change my life so drastically, so quickly, right? Because I want you guys to be able to have the same, okay? This video is for you. This video is for you to understand the 5 habits that I believe change my financial situation so you guys can do the exact same and have financial freedom and time freedom in your lives, because I believe that's what all of us really want. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoy this content. Let's dive into the 5 habits that change my financial life. Hi, my name is Zack Boothe, and I help people just like you become ultra successful in real estate investing and more specifically, real estate wholesaling. So you can follow along on this YouTube channel. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. And also, if you would like to apply for my mastery program, get direct access to me and all the actionable steps to become a successful wholesaler, make sure you go to my website, linked in the description below, and book a call so you can either talk to me or one of my onboarding coaches to see if we are a fit to help you in your journey to become a real estate wholesaler. Enjoy the content. So I believe the first habit that I created that really started, really helped me even before I was a window cleaner, even before I got into real estate investing and started growing my net worth, was I was never afraid to work hard. I was never afraid to work outside of the government institutionalized mindset of 40 hours a week and weekends off and holidays off, right? I would work Christmas Eve if I had to pay my bills. I would work weekends, I'd work nights. I remember when I had my window cleaning business as well, in the winter time, it was slow. So I would do handyman jobs and fix things. And when I had expenses like immigration attorney fees for my wife, I was doing trade work and remodeling my attorney's house. I did naughty alder doors and baseboard encasing, and I put in a slate front entrance, and I re-sheetrocked and pulled out all the old ceiling tiles out of his vaulted kitchen and put sheetrock up and textured it. And painting and a bunch of other things. And I learned how to do all that because I was doing side jobs and watching YouTube and learning how to do these projects so I could get paid to do them. And I was building furniture like just pine farmhouse type tables at night. I was doing all sorts of things to be able to help pay for food and housing and everything that my wife and I needed. Because my wife was an immigrant, she didn't have a green card when we first got married. She didn't even have a driver's license. So I was 100% on me to cover all of those expenses. It was tough and it was difficult. But I believe that working hard can solve so many of your problems. And I'm not saying this is unique to me, but I believe that habit, the ability to work outside of that 40 hours, is a requirement to becoming wealthy. You have to be able to work. And the other thing that I want it to be very clear is I enjoy working. I worked enough and I found joy in providing for my family. Work became something I looked forward to. Was there parts of my jobs that I've hated in the past? Yeah, there was moments that I hated window washing, but I found a lot of fulfillment in being fast. And I found myself, saying, oh, this job's $150. Let's see if I can do it in an hour. And I found myself trying to learn techniques to be faster and challenge myself and trying to set new goals for how much money I could make in a day. And I found fulfillment in work. So not only did I work, but I found ways to turn work into a challenge and find fulfillment by challenging myself with the work that I did. So I believe that was my first habit, was turning work into a challenge and being fulfilled by work and not falling into that institutionalized thinking of 40 hours a week and you're done. The second habit that I believe that was created that really changed things for me after building that work ethic as a young kid was educating myself. So for so many years, I just worked really hard and made all the mistakes on my own. But when I was out washing windows, I started to listen to podcasts because I was doing work that didn't require a lot of brain work, right? Just scrubbing windows, squeegeeing windows off all day, up and down ladders. And it started to open my mind to opportunities. I started listening to real estate wholesaling podcasts and real estate investing podcasts. And I started listening to self-improvement books. How to Make Friends and Influence People, and 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and Think and Grow Rich were some of the original books I listened to, and they were life-changing. They were life-changing. I started hiring mentors for the first time, and I became obsessed with self-improvement. I used to think I was so stupid. I really struggled in school. I still struggle to retain information. I really have to make a massive effort to retain information. I have to have a really good organizational note system and Google Calendar system to stay on top of my tasks because I'm so ADD and all over the place with my thoughts. And so educating myself, degrees and stuff, that's what I'm talking about, but constant self-improvement, constant education, constantly reading books, having mentors, and following through with what I learned, not just reading books, but actually taking action in everything that I've been taught and learned. That was something that really blew up my net worth and my financial life, and also my fulfillment, my happiness, and my peace inside. The third habit that I believe was instrumental in me becoming a millionaire was managing my money. It took me a minute, but I quickly learned that I was a steward of my money, and I started to creatively think, how can I get what I want without spending it? I started, Robert Kiyosaki, I think, says it best. He says in his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he said, never say I can't afford it. Say, how can I afford it? And I started asking myself, okay, how can I afford something? So as a young kid, even at 16 years old, I was going to school and wanted to do certain things. I wanted to play basketball. I had all these expenses I wanted to pay for. And so I started asking myself, how can I afford it? Instead of just going, oh, I need money, I'm gonna go get a job, I started flipping vehicles. I'd buy vehicles. I'd constantly search Craigslist and KSL, it's another listing website, for deals. I also started my window cleaning business, as a teenager, because I thought, if I could wash windows, I could make way more per hour than if I went and got a job. Plus, I can pick the times and hours that I wanted to work. I could work any day of the week. I could work evenings. I can control my schedule. And then I started being very careful with my money. I didn't get consumer debt because I understood if I got debt, then that was interest. And I knew if I didn't have cash in the bank, I couldn't flip vehicles. So I started to use my money as a tool and as a resource to be able to start my first business and buy my first truck so I could have what I needed. And back then, I graduated high school the year that the smartphone came out, right? So cell phones were relatively new when I was in high school. I had to buy my first cell phone. I had all those expenses and things that came with starting my first business. And, that wouldn't have been possible if I wasn't a steward of my money. For example, let's say you want a car, your monthly payment on it is going to be $400. Well, why don't you go buy a rental, right? That cash flows $400 a month and spend your money that way, and then the house will pay for the car, right? Like if you start to think that way, then you'll be able to actually grow your wealth and your money will start to grow. Habit 3 kind of jumps right into habit 4. So habit 4 is once I started realizing the power of not spending my money, I kind of became obsessed with it in an unhealthy way. I started getting really upset, especially with my wife, when she would spend money. And I wanted to hoard it. I fell in love with money. Money was everything. And it was an unhealthy relationship that actually hurt my progress financially as well as personally and my relationships. It wasn't a good situation. So I finally started budgeting. I finally started sitting down with my wife and managing our money. We do a weekly financial report. We have a set percentage of the money that comes in that goes towards investments. We have a certain percentage that goes to the vacation fund. We have a certain percentage that goes to groceries, a certain percentage that goes to me to spend however I want. There's a percentage to my wife to spend however she wants, percentage that goes to monthly expenses for the family and all those things. So we have separate savings accounts for all of those different things, which is kind of crazy. It's a little bit of work, but we have to manage that money. If there's not money in the vacation fund, we don't go on vacation. Right? And as soon as I started doing that, there was peace and tranquility and understanding that I could spend, that we could go have a good time, that we could go on vacation. But what was most important is there was a set expectation what percentage of the money that came in actually went towards investments. And then with that money, then I would make decisions on what's the best use of this money to grow my net worth, to grow our cash flow, to make that money make more money. The fifth and final habit that I believe really changed things for us to speed up the process to becoming a millionaire was tracking our net worth. Like I said, I do a weekly financial report with my wife. We also do a net worth report. So what we do is we broke down our net worth by different categories. So I have our personal assets, so that's our personal house, cars, those kinds of things. Then I broke it down into the different investment classes, different asset classes that I'm in. So let's say you have real estate, gold. So real estate might be one, and all the different properties you have. Another one might be precious metals, right, is another asset class. So you break down your gold, your silver, and all your other metals, right? And how much you have in each of those. Then maybe your cryptocurrencies and all your different cryptos you have. And maybe you have your stock account and all your different stocks. And that is updated every single week. So our net worth, we can either see it go up or see it go down. And then what I'll do is once like I said in our financial report, when we decide, okay, this percentage, let's say I move $20,000 into my investments for that week, I evenly distribute that cash to be invested into the asset classes. 50% of the contributions that I make to my investments, 50% goes to real estate, 20% goes to cash reserves, 20% goes to stocks, 5% goes to precious metals, 5% goes to crypto. All right, so I make those contributions, make my investments. Sometimes it takes me a month or two. Sometimes it takes me 5-6 months till I've put together enough money or till a deal comes along that makes sense to invest my money. So I have different savings accounts that are labeled those investments. That is one habit that really like exploded my net worth because I was tracking it. You know, they say whatever you measure improves. And so if you're not consistently measuring your net worth, you're gonna really struggle to know where you're at. And the other thing that I noticed that was huge about this habit is when I started measuring my net worth, I started to pay attention more. There's a part of our brain that's constantly scanning to what's relevant, right? There's our subconscious brain and there's our conscious brain. There's a part of our subconscious brain that's scanning all of the information, all the colors that are in front of you, all the sounds, all the smells, everything that's happening around us, and it's telling our brain what's relevant, what our conscious brain should focus on. For example, let's say you're on the phone, driving down the freeway, everything's good, and you get home and you're like, man, I don't even remember driving here, right? Like you don't even remember it, but you got home. Let's say the next day you're doing the same thing. You're on the phone, going home, and someone cuts you off, you slam on the brakes and you spin out of control, and you're just like, you don't even remember you're on your phone. You don't know where your phone is. The phone obviously fell, you obviously dropped the phone, but your brain completely shut off everything else around you and made you focus on what was relevant to staying alive, right? So our brain has a lot of power. And so when you're constantly thinking about something, when you're constantly looking at something, our subconscious brain is scanning the room, always scanning all the time for opportunities to what we know our conscious brain is wanting to know at the time. For example, let's say you're trying to buy a car, right? And you're looking at all these different cars and you decide you like the Ford Fusion, for example, right? And you've been looking at Ford Fusions, you're really liking them. All of a sudden you start to see them everywhere. You start to see that Ford Fusion everywhere you go, and you're starting to see the green one, the blue one, and the gray one, and you start to notice them because your conscious brain has been focused on the Ford Fusion, so the subconscious brain is scanning it for you. Our brains are extremely powerful. So when you're constantly looking at your net worth with a certain goal to get your net worth to a certain level, and you're constantly doing it, you're gonna start to see investment opportunities. You're gonna start to see things that you probably wouldn't have seen before because you're consciously focused on your net worth. So if you're not measuring it, you're gonna miss out on opportunities because your subconscious brain won't be working for you. It's a huge game changer. You need to be tracking your net worth if you wanna grow your net worth. Those are the 5 habits that I believe made the biggest difference to making me a millionaire. As they say, your first million is the hardest because you have to change who you are to become a millionaire, not necessarily what you do. I hope you guys enjoyed this content. I hope you take something and implement any of these habits. Pick one, implement the habit today to change your net worth and to change your financial situation. I hope you guys enjoyed the content. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already. We'll see you in the next video.